Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. This week has been ridiculous. An aggressive week of selling has seen the price of Bitcoin fall below 10,000 US dollars for the first time since late July, triggering fears in the markets. After posting a local top of roughly 12,500 US dollars on the 17th of August, Bitcoin consolidated between 11,250 and 12,100. However, the last 3 days have seen sellers reject 12,000 US dollars and take over the market. Roughly 4 hours ago, Bitcoin briefly changed hands for 9,990 US dollars after about 2 months of price action above $10,000, and there's that little dramatic chart right there. Despite buyers quickly pushing prices back into five figures, many traders are anticipating that prices will drop further to tag the most recent CME gap at 9,700 US dollars. The fabled CME gap occurs when the markets make an aggressive move outside of the trading hours of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange's Bitcoin futures markets when they're trading, resulting in a price gap on the charts with the most recent so. The news that we have right now is that the cryptocurrency market has fallen. It has dropped by a lot. I'm seeing articles going around using the word bloodbath, bloodshed, blah, 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 whatever kind of words you want to use to describe it. There are a couple of theories as to why this happened. I am going to go out on a limb, very long. I'll even go out on a very thin tree branch on my tippy toes and say that it was probably not the CME futures gap being filled that caused Bitcoin to drop for a couple of very simple reasons. And it's funny. I'll be completely honest with you. I had to think this over because I started getting so angry that we keep getting news all the time that it's the CME gap having to be filled that's causing Bitcoin to always drop in price, and we usually about an hour or so later get the actual news as to probably what ended up happening. The idea that any type of an exchange in general, but nonetheless one that's in Chicago that deals in US dollar based Bitcoin futures, having an effect on Bitcoin being from 12,000 US dollars and having to drop to 9,700 US dollars is absolute nonsense. I'm choosing my words very lightly because I could use a lot of other words right now. The idea is complete stupidity that for some reason, once again, an exchange in Chicago would have that much effect when it's not even dealing in actual physical Bitcoin, and that for some reason traders around the world, and I made sure to say Chicago multiple times because once again, Bitcoin is a worldwide currency. It's not just in the States, it's not just in Illinois, it's not just in Chicago, it is not just in Canada, it is not just in Brazil. It's a worldwide currency that's being traded by at least 100,000 players around the world and being purchased and owned by at least 50 million people on the planet. So the idea that there are people in Tokyo, there are people in Brazil, there are people in South Africa, there are people in Germany, there are people in Iceland who would all be looking at the CME's number and simply going, oh no, we must sell because the CME is lower. That's complete nonsense. What it probably is, it says the price of Bitcoin, the S&P 500, and gold all fell simultaneously on the 3rd of September. The sentiment around the market remains cautiously negative after the drop. Two factors likely triggered the abrupt decline of Bitcoin by over 8% on the day. First, miners sold off unusually large amounts of Bitcoin in a short period of time. Second, the US dollar index, the DXY, has started to recover from a key multi-year support area, which also logically doesn't make a lot of sense. I think I even have some of the tabs open, and I'll go over them in a couple of seconds, I promise you. Analysts also attribute the fall of gold to the rising US dollar. The European Central Bank's warning against the surging euro caused investors to become cautious about the euro. The change in investor confidence further fueled the dollar, contributing to gold's slump. The decline of the S&P 500 could have been coincidental, as the drop comes after a strong sell-off from big tech companies. If I'm not mistaken, I knew that, I believe it was Apple share just split. I think they did like a 50-50 split kind of down the middle. So if you had let's say you had 100 stock, you kind of double the amount of stock that you had. They didn't stay the same value. If one stock was 100, they got split in two. So now you have two stocks worth 50. And I think Tesla also just did the same, if my friend was correct, because we were discussing this right before I started making this video. It appears as though what is currently happening right now, and hands in the air, because it appears that people are realizing that the markets are overvalued, and therefore there was a sell-off amongst tech stocks, which, if you've been paying attention to the last 800 videos I've made, have been the main leading cause for the markets around the world to actually continue rising. Other stocks, other companies, even when they went completely bankrupt and their numbers were completely in red, tech stocks, the FANG stocks, that is Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, I think I'm missing another letter or something like that. They were continuously rising, and that led to the rise of the rest of the stock market, which was completely, I'll use the word fraudulent, because the economy is not doing very well. The US dollar rising in value also seems a bit off to me, simply because, now bear with me right here, they've been printing trillions of dollars over the last couple of months. They told us months ago that they would continue doing this, and then we got news a week and a half ago that the chairman of the Federal Reserve, not only would they continue doing it, but it would kind of be going on forever until they relieve the situation revolving around 19, which then leads us logically to believe that the US dollar is going to continue to inflate, which is also kind of weird that the dollar would surge in value regardless of any type of... Listen, I'm sure it had some type of an influence with the euro, with people being cautious about the rise in the euro. But everything seems a bit too coordinated, always for me at the exact same time. If things happened in sequence, like if one domino fell and the rest of them continued falling over the next course of the next weeks, but at the exact same time, it seems a little bit off. This seems to be the most likely reason. It could be a fear-induced drop. Maybe everyone in the Bitcoin currency, cryptocurrency space, were all drinking the Kool-Aid at the exact same time, and they also assumed that as the S&P 500 and other stock markets were also going up, that maybe Bitcoin was just going to continue rising as well. There needs to be a clear definition between the actual correlation between Bitcoin and traditional stock market, and I think a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people who are in the market, who are new to the market, or who were previously on Wall Street, probably have no idea about the actual idea of what Bitcoin is, what it's going to do, and the longevity that Bitcoin is going to have. They probably don't even really know or care that there are only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So I think a lot of this really happens with, if this market is dropping, that market is dropping, gold's not doing well, but Bitcoin also has to go down. It could be people trying to push prices down. Maybe they've been trying to do it for weeks. Maybe this was like the breaking point where they were able to get prices to go back down so that they could accumulate at a lower point. The idea that we have been getting, it's I don't know who's pushing this news, not even blaming the person who wrote this article, but this is constantly a thing that pops up, and I'll tell you exactly why it's the dumbest thing right now in the cryptocurrency space. If we continuously live in a world where Bitcoin is 12,000, 16,000, 18,000, and on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, traders there have decided that they are going to continuously put in longs or shorts, I don't care what they are, determining that Bitcoin's price needs to be 9,700, 8,600, and we have to fill those numbers, well, then by golly, they can control the Bitcoin market until the end of humanity. Do you understand what I mean? If we can be at 12,000 and the CME price is currently at 9,700, roughly averaged, that means no matter where we try to go as a price, the people inside the CME can simply say, well, I'm going to bet that Bitcoin is going to be 9,000. I'm going to bet that Bitcoin is going to be 9,500. And that means that we forever and ever, until they decide otherwise, have to trade within that trading range, because we always have to fill that gap. That's why I think it's very stupid news. I'm not sure if the market has reacted to that before, in seeing that the CME, because we've had the same numbers for a while. It's not like the CME numbers have really risen. And this also goes back to the news that we had before in 2018, that apparently the entire reason why the futures were allowed in the first place was they were created to tame the Bitcoin market, in that the cryptocurrency market in 2017 and Bitcoin's price got a little bit too hot. And therefore, they initiated or allowed the Bitcoin futures to go through, because it would allow people to bet against the price of Bitcoin, which would then cause it to kind of level out. That was the reasoning that we received before. But once again, it doesn't seem logical. Like, for that matter, think of if the Chicago Mercantile Exchange can cause the entire price of Bitcoin to drop by $2,300, well, then there's probably a stock exchange somewhere in Scandinavia, because they also have ETNs and ETPs as well that are based around Bitcoin. Why doesn't the market move for them? Why isn't the market moving for Backed? Why isn't the market moving for anything else? It seems illogical, at least to me. If you can explain this to me exactly why Bitcoin's price would drop from 12,000 to 9,700 over the course of a couple of hours, if not 2 hours, then by golly, I will give you an award. But I'm going to go out once again and say that it is probably the drop in other markets and or the potential strengthening of the US dollar. This seems a little bit more, but even that also seems completely manipulated. I mean, every single market is manipulated in some sort of way, but we know that legacy markets have it really the worst. So anyway, that appears to be the reason as to why. Also, this one, 50-50. There's apparently news that a lot of people, cryptocurrency miners and Bitcoin miners in particular, apparently sold off a large portion of their Bitcoin. And this is also another reasoning as to why people think that Bitcoin's price fell down. But this also doesn't seem that logical. Taking three pools, Poolin, Slush, and the now defunct How BTC, they apparently sold 1,630 Bitcoin, which, roughly total to around 18 million US dollars. I do not think that a sell-off of $18 million worth of Bitcoin, because let's be completely real about this. How many other traders are there trading Bitcoin around the world? Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands at this very moment. I'm pretty sure during the course of a day, there are at least 10,000 Bitcoin sell orders, cumulatively 10K BTC, and they have no real downward effect on the market. Could it be that simply there was a really gigantic whale who was looking at the wallet address of a very large Bitcoin miner and saw that they were selling off and took that as a bearish signal? Possibly. I doubt it. It also doesn't make a lot of sense. We had news we've had news over the years that apparently when Bitcoin miners sell their Bitcoin, that Bitcoin's price also has to go down. I'm trying not to curse. That's also a very stupid idea. They have to sell in general. We know that they sell their Bitcoin. This is how they pay for their electricity bills. It's a common thing that we've heard from them as well, that when the bills are due, we don't have any cash laying around, so we have to sell a portion of the Bitcoin that we actually mined over the course of the month to keep the lights on. And this is how you kind of continue the same flow. And this is how these Bitcoin actually go into circulation, is because they've sold off their Bitcoin. They're usually keeping them for themselves because they are having very long-term bets on where the Bitcoin space is going to go. So I'm going to also assume that it was probably not a couple of mining pools selling off $18 million worth of Bitcoin that would cause it Bitcoin yesterday, I think, had a market cap of, it was $216 billion. If our market's that fragile, we should all just leave right now. Can you imagine, I don't even know a major company. Let's say, for instance, Tesla has stock and their cumulative market cap is worth around $216 billion. And someone on the other side of the world sells $18 million worth of Tesla stock. Why would it? No, that's not how liquidity works at all. And we've had major sell orders far larger than 18 million before. Anyway, here's the news from Market Watch. It says euro at 2-year high as it tops $1.20. And this one says bloodshed as Bitcoin's price plummets below 10,000. I'm chalking it up to simple manipulation. And this is really just stemming from the manipulation in every other market right now. We know deep within our souls The stock market should not have been as high as it was. Real estate prices should not be that high. If you haven't been looking at what's happening inside of major cities right now, please have a look. People are fleeing major cities and going to suburbs and many other places. It is looking very dramatic right now. Anyway, I saw one article. I don't think I even have it in here. Is this it? No, I don't remember. There was some trader somewhere who said that he believes that literally by next Wednesday we'll probably be back above 11,500 as this slip downward was falsified, not real. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, the point is the market's down. We have a whole bunch of reasons as to why. Only one of them to me seems extremely logical. And without further ado, let's move on. Next up, Hester Peirce last month was sworn in for a second term as the commissioner of the SEC. In an interview with Decrypt, she talked about what she foresees for the next 5 years at the agency. She said, and I agree, she said decentralized finance is going to cause the SEC to sit down and ask some fundamental questions about regulations. To be sure, decentralized finance is this summer's hot topic amongst the cryptocurrency set, but it's a tricky one for the SEC to deal with. It comprises non-custodial lending protocols, synthetic stocks and exchanges, and a lot of food references. We heard it was a sushi, yam, hot dog coin, and I think both of those forked last night as well. I don't have that news in here, but I'm pretty sure people keep forking every single day of these protocols, and because there was one that was made last night, and I think it had 3 million put into it in about 5 minutes. It's just nonsense. On one hand, some lawyers are convinced that it involves the distribution of securities, exactly the remit of the Securities Exchange Commission. But DeFi seeks to avoid this. The leading protocols have aggressively moved to decentralized. Someone named Pally said most so-called governance tokens are probably securities. That's it. That's the tweet. I'm going to give you the answer right now. No one gives a flying F if these things are securities or not. The entire world of regulation is it's laying down, and someone is in the process of putting them on their heads, and they're going to spin them. The world of finance is going to continue evolving into this decentralized form, no matter what the SEC, the CFTC, or any other three-lettered company is going to say. They are going to have an extremely difficult time with DeFi projects, and DeFi projects aren't going to slow down. I think the scammy ones will be tossed to the side. However, a lot more of these are going to be created, and they're going to be one of the focal points for future finance, especially if we end up moving into a hyper decentralized monetary world, or even a parallel economy where Bitcoin does eventually at some point hit 50,000, 100,000, 250,000, $500,000 per coin with a $10 trillion market cap. The world of I don't even know where to even slightly begin when it comes to all of these things. I called this months ago. The entire reason why we have the DeFi space is because the ICO space was supposed to look like the DeFi space. It was supposed to be a place where people could freely make coins, throw them onto the market, and the market would kind of decide what was going on. The issue is that a lot of these people decided to make posters of themselves and go on stage with a whole bunch of other people holding hands and screaming how great and amazing we are, and our coin's going to be the brand new thing, until they realize that the SEC is the thing and that they fall under its jurisdiction. However, in a world where even governance tokens, I don't care what kind of govern whatever they are, they may be securities or commodities, but no one's going to be able to control them. And that's going to call for, I assume we're going to hear a lot of news about the SEC trying to bring people in or tell them that they're being sued or whatever the case is. But this only further pushes us to a more decentralized faction. This is why we had a whole bunch of other coins. Remember Beam and Grin, these coins that launched last year? This is why they also had like pseudonymous releases. Even I think for Grin, like no one knows who even made it. Like the guy, he called himself like Lord Voldemort, but I think in French or something like that. So we're going to see a lot more of this, and it's only going to intensify when these coins have private transactions. Vitalik Buterin has mentioned before, at some point, Ethereum's going to have private transactions. Imagine when everything built on top of Ethereum, therefore by default, also has private transactions. Litecoin is planning on private transactions. Bitcoin is planning on having private transactions. So it's going to be a very interesting world where contracts, one of the main focuses that me and my friend were talking about before is the actual being able to execute contracts on top of Ethereum in a private kind of way, or even just in general, even if they weren't private. If you're trying to buy an apartment, if you're trying to buy something else and you actually do the contract, you and your friend could actually create contracts through these things even right now, saying X, Y, and Z, I want to do so-and-so, and you kind of swap money to swap so-and-so back and forth. Imagine in a world where all these things can happen. You have a contract between you and a friend just as a way to, should things get hairy, you have an actual contract, but imagine them being completely private just amongst both of you because you launched the protocol on Tron or Cardano or Ethereum, whichever coin in the future is going to have private transactions and also smart contracts as well. It's going to be a very different world. Regulators will not know how to keep up. I'm sure that this is why we keep getting news about, what's that company? Boopadoop. The one that CipherTrace. Why we keep getting news about them nearly every other day, working with a new agency, because they want to figure out, and it's almost futile in a way, because you can't, when it comes to these decentralized platforms, it's thousands of people working on them at the exact same time, thousands of people putting into their money into them, and like the entire governance of it is controlled by essentially thousands of people who have put their money into these protocols. Like you get the governance tokens from having your stake in the actual network. Sorry. Do you send a letter to 17,000 people who are trading sushi coin for 3.5 weeks and then dump the coin and then move on to another thing? Like, how do you control it? You can't. And that is where the world is moving on to. So anyway, I give Hester Pierce a thumbs up. She is probably one of the only, if not the only people within the SEC to really, she comes forward and at least says the truth. Time and time again. And I appreciate her for that. But at least she knows, and I'm pretty sure they must have an inkling in the back of their head somewhere that the next 10 years are going to be even more difficult for them. Because once the DeFi craze kind of cools off, if you can say that, something else new is going to take its place, and it's going to have even more of a decentralized private nature to it. So eventually we get to the point where, like I said, the entire parallel, economy is going to exist, where we have company coins, state-run coins, and decentralized cryptocurrencies, and that is going to be a world that many people are going to be very shocked about. Let's move on. Next up, Charles Hoskinson is in the news after a successful August. Things aren't getting any calmer at Cardano. Hoskinson, the CEO of Input Output Hong Kong, said that the company plans on doing more extensive work on Shelley this month, which will include introducing partial delegation to Daedalus, improving the presentation of stake pools on the platform, and introducing a bifurcated hot and cold environment for pools. There was also, what was the other news? So apparently he made a YouTube video. It says the first thing he mentioned is that Shelley, despite the amount of resources it takes up, isn't the only thing IOHK is currently working on. Cardano's future eras, Gauguin and Voltaire, has seen a lot of action throughout the summer, with Hoskinson saying he expects more work to be done on them in the following months. He says September is the month where Voltaire is waking up for everyone. I'm going to be completely honest. No one really cares about Voltaire or Gauguin or any other name that they kind of have. Not that these things aren't significant. Everyone was really just paying attention to Shelley. Shelley gave birth to the decentralized model and to the staking feature, which people really care about. The name of the game right now in the cryptocurrency space is how much money can you make, how fast can you make it, and I guess even more so the longevity of you being able to make money. A lot of people are expecting Cardano to last for a very long time. I give it a 5 to 10 year window. This is also something that I think, and I hope all of you really understand. When I discuss a lot of these coins and the coins that I hold, yes, I do own ADA as well. I give a lot of these coins a good 5 to 10 year window. These are long-term holds for me because I expect over the course of the next 5 to 10 years that they will do extremely well over the course of multiple bull runs. However, I don't think these coins are really going to last forever. I don't care if you do. In 10 years, we can come back here and we can have fisticuffs and we can, really talk about it. The point is, yeah, Cardano's not making the news that much anymore. People are still heavily focused on Shelly and the idea of staking and stuff like that, and I hope that they continue focusing on that as well, because I think that's really one of their main selling points, not only being able to be a decentralized platform, potentially a DeFi platform, a smart contract platform, but people want that money. So apparently September is going to be a very big month for Cardano. We'll see exactly what ends up happening. We rarely get any type of Cardano news anymore. It's been quite a while. Yeah, that was pretty much it. He was talking about some of the new features that are coming to Cardano over this month, and it kind of led down to that. Anyway, that's the Cardano news, and let's move on. In really popular news, first word, popular Ethereum browser wallet MetaMask has launched a mobile application for both iOS and Android. MetaMask users can now manage their cryptocurrency wallets, store non-fungible tokens, sign messages, and play blockchain-powered games from their mobile devices. Users of the wallet's desktop browser extension can import their entire transaction history into MetaMask Mobile by scanning a QR code. That's kind of cool. MetaMask was developed and released by consensus and has exclusively been a Chrome and Firefox extension since 2016. It has been downloaded more than 4 million times. It's pretty much like an online wallet kind of thing. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, even if you were using CryptoKitties, you had to have MetaMask, and it kind of like ran through that entire thing. This could be quite fascinating. I assume it has to do Assumption. I assume it has to do with the potential news that we could potentially be seeing Ethereum 2.0 this month and or sometime in autumn. The idea that there is now an app for it where you can play these decentralized blockchain games on your phone is kind of incredible, because long story short, if we get Ethereum, if we get Ethereum 2.0 and you can play these decentralized games on your phone, that's going to take crypto to an entirely different space, because it's been thought for a while that we need kind of like a killer app, if you will, something that'll really drag crypto into the mainstream, and it's been thought for a while that it would be video games. Anyway, yeah, MetaMask has an app now. I would, in all honesty, and I'll tell you this right now, I'd wait about a good month, 2 months to see how it pans out. When something new comes out, I never, ever, ever am the first to ever download it. I wait till other people have used it, till they've tested it, to see if, here we go, to see if their money's been stolen, to see if they had issues taking their money on and off the application. Does it work? Did it freeze? Did it completely shut down? Did it have to reboot? Like, I want to know all these things before I put any type of money on it. It is very interesting that this has finally launched, but I would give it some time before you throw your money into something that is essentially relatively brand new on iOS and Android devices. Yeah. Let's move on. In the most popular news of the day, I saw more articles about this than I did about the actual cryptocurrency drop. The president of Banco Central, Brazil Central Bank, has announced that Brazilians could expect to see a central bank digital currency before 2023. According to a September 2nd report from news outlet Correio Brasil, Brazil could be ready for a central bank digital currency in 2022. Roberto Campos Neto, the president of Banco Central, stated that the country's central bank has already undertaken measures to modernize the Brazilian financial system, which has made a central bank digital currency the natural outcome. The president cited the country's PIX instant payment system and open banking among those measures. The central bank plans to enable peer-to-peer and business-to-business transactions in 10 seconds or less using a mobile phone, internet banking, or ATMs beginning in November. An open banking system allows for the exchange of user information between banks, enabling customers to switch more easily. Campos Neto said, a central bank digital currency distinguishes itself from cryptocurrencies without national trust. like Bitcoin, because it's just a new form of representation of the currency already issued by the National Monetary Authority. Sure. I really. Did you ever have one of those? You all must have one of those situations where you really want to say something and you can feel it like knocking at the front door of your head, really trying to escape. I feel like in a region that is heavily affected by poverty amongst many of its residents, they should probably be looking towards ways to mitigate that poverty and helping out their citizens before focusing on a central bank digital currency that will simply be used to further control the transactions that are happening within their country. I think that while Bitcoin does not or is not issued by any national entity, it still has a lot of trust. I think that many countries around the world are scrambling to create a central bank digital currency because they probably at some point read the news from the German banks and the Swiss banks that they all believe at some point that Bitcoin is going to hit a $5 trillion market cap over the next 10 years, and they are probably scrambling to make sure that they remain relevant in some sort of way. I feel like if people within Brazil really understood that there already was something digital that they could use, Bitcoin, to escape the tyranny that is currently plaguing them, I think we would see a rapid shift almost immediately. A lot of this new, remember the news that we kept on getting a couple of months ago, and it was all really great Bitcoin news. It was about adoption. It was about all these other things, but it was kind of only within the cryptocurrency space. What was the news that we had? And I even saw a couple of people in the comment section said they tried finding this news on CNBC, ABC, all these other places, and they simply could not find it. The world has changed. The world is going to continue to change. We don't need the future to smack us in the face. We currently have a monetary system. We have multiple, actually, that allow for hyper financial freedom from places that do not, I'm going to assume, if history is any indication, care about their citizens that much. And I say multiple currencies because it could be something as simple as a Bitcoin. If you don't like Bitcoin, use Ether. If you don't like Ether, use Litecoin. And for the heck of it, why not even use Tron? We have the technology, but governments are going to try their darndest to make sure that their citizens don't know about this, that they are discouraged from using such things. Remember the news that we always used to have before, that people used to always constantly say, well, Bitcoin's not, Bitcoin relies on the faith of people who are trading it. It has no real value. Neither does the Brazilian real or the US dollar. It's all speculation. People assume that the US dollar will continue to be around for a couple of years, and this is why it retains value. People assume that the European economy is going to continue doing well against the US dollar, and this is why the euro rose in price. It's all speculation. Anyway, I mean, very popular news, incredibly popular news. It could be because I guess maybe Brazil wasn't one of the first names that we were thinking of when it came to a central bank digital currency. It could also be because they are a year after China is planning on releasing the full release of their central bank digital currency. Who knows what it is, but this was incredibly popular news. I feel like we would be in a better position worldwide if governments learned how to take care of their citizens before the banks. But that's not how the world works currently, and this is why Bitcoin continues to rise in popularity. I wish, those ads that what are they called? Grayscale had at the London bus station, and all these other companies who no, that was Binance, and all these things that they keep creating. I wish if they really meant for Bitcoin to become a worldwide currency and to become super popular and to even fill their pockets even more because they all hold huge amounts of Bitcoin, you have to figure out how to market to the everyday people. You can't keep trying to market to the richest on the and because they know about Bitcoin. They're already buying Bitcoin. You have to get it to the everyday average person. Even that ad that Binance had was just in central London. Have you seen property values in central London? You can buy a studio in central London in zone 1. It's like £500,000. It's like 32 meters squared, around 320 square feet. It's absolutely ridiculous. Don't pander to the very rich. You have to get it out to everybody else to let them understand not only is there another way for them to essentially make money over the next course of the couple of years, or even for forever if Bitcoin's price does continue rising up into 2140. It's just this really, like, let them know that there's an alternative. Stop telling rich people that they can get richer. You have to tell other people that they can also join into the financial world as well, and that the system already exists. But once again, greed is a thing, and people love to just focus on rich people. And this is exactly why the world is in the state that it's in. And to finish things off, BitMEX said early Friday morning it plans to introduce future markets for 2 cryptocurrencies, the first new coins to appear on the exchange in over 2 years. BitMEX has announced new futures contracts for Chainlink, sure, and for Tezos, also sure. 2 cryptocurrencies with triple-digit year-to-date returns, in addition to new contracts for EOS and Cardano. 2 coins already traded in futures markets on BitMEX. I shrugged. I moved my shoulders up and then I moved them back down. Sure, go for it. I don't know. There must be a huge amount of demand behind the scenes for people to trade US dollar values of cryptocurrencies which they don't actually own. I'm not sure what it is. I guess when you never mind. You have 100x leverage. That'll do it. That's definitely a really big magnet for a lot of people trying to make very big money. I wonder. No, we'll probably have futures markets forever. I think at this point the plague is there. We won't be able to really get away from it. Anyway, the point is BitMEX has added new futures contracts for Chainlink and Tezos. Sure, and I guess newer contracts for EOS and Cardano. Happy birthday to them. That sounds absolutely wonderful. I don't know if it's their birthday, but I was being sarcastic. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters, Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Tolek Banan, Snacky Chan, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain, Decentralized Peter, Navarro Williams, why was that difficult for me? David James, Attila the Han, Yasha Harari, Oscar Maldonado, Utopia 569, Moonman High, XRP, Joshua Vineyard, Martin Storio, Nostromo, John Sarson, The Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohar Maroni, Master Ventures in Thailand, Jared Schneider, Wise Knights Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroll Network, Crypto Artist, Cold E3D, Damien Set, Suna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Richard, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Nick Mangela, Vody, Anthony Charles, Jim Garner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Miller, Hishesh Everyday, and Kyle Skips Leg Day, Yes to Crypto, Body McButtface, Anytime Fitness, Monks Corner Staff, Arfmedic 17, Bake Me a Cake, Tigera, Macho Nisa, On Crypto with Lionel, Crayla, Michelle, URL, and Bolero Bastos. Thank you all very, 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 very much for your support. If you're looking at the screen, you already know what's coming. At the moment, the cryptocurrency market's all in red. Even Tether's in a little light marinara sauce. Bitcoin is currently at $10,412. We've recovered by $500 since our drop a couple of hours ago. It looks like the market is trying to move back up. Do not be surprised if we fall any further based off of some other type of fraudulent news. It's nice to see that we recovered very quickly back above 10,000. I don't really know what to say. I don't think there's anything really to say. The entire market's in red. Tron is up by 12%. Why, oh, why, oh, why? And I think BitTorrent token was also up, if I'm not mistaken, if I can find it. I believe it was the only, yep, it's up by 4%, roughly rounding up by 4%. Up 4.16%. Sure. DigiByte's also up by 7%, and the rest of the market is completely in red. We'll see where the weekend takes us. We'll see what other, I mean, I expected this month to be, can I say the word tumultuous? To be ridiculous in general, and here we are. there's definitely a battle happening behind the scenes. I think if we think otherwise, we are simply fooling ourselves. The idea that many people have that Bitcoin is going to become a worldwide currency, or rather a currency, Bitcoin is already a worldwide currency. That Bitcoin is going to eventually one day hit a $10 trillion market cap is believed by many, but also I'm pretty sure there are a lot of other people behind the scenes who are going to do whatever they can to try and stop that from happening. When you talk about the moving away from, or the not having to use the US dollar, the euro, or the yen, and Bitcoin is a substitute that is not controlled by governments who have been controlling everything for as long as they've existed, you get into a situation where you have these manipulation talks. Of course, there are people behind the scenes who hate Bitcoin, and not even the Peter Schiffs or the other people. I'm pretty sure even more powerful, sitting in a dark castle, stroking a hairless cat, knocking their fingers together like Mr. Burns kind of situation people who really don't want to see Bitcoin succeed. And this is where I think you kind of get these moments. Because when you've spent your entire life creating a market, a legacy, and you have figured out how to control it, and something new comes along the way that you do not have control over, I'm pretty sure it is it's more than an annoyance. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday. Try and go out and do something fun. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.